Well, obviously the United States has an obligation under any treaty, under international law, to protect its own citizens, to protect its own rights. The thing that would be a serious error is for the United States unilaterally to take action that would violate the terms of the treaty. This is a sacred issue with Panamanians. And I think we could play right in Noriega's hands if we made it clear that we were not going to honor the treaties and that we were going to intervene in some military fashion that violated the sovereignty of that little nation. We don't need to do this. It's a thing that Noriega would like to see. It's a thing that could cause him to regain some influence in his own country, which substantially he lost on election day. Yes.
Should we negotiate?
Can you bring any message that relayed to you, either directly or indirectly, from General Noriega or his associates with President Bush?
No, I do not.
Do you believe negotiations are underway
Between whom?
between the United States and General Noriega's forces?
I doubt if any negotiations are underway. I don't know.
Should there be?
Not this early. I think it's time for us now to assess what's going on, to consult with other nations in this hemisphere and indeed in Europe as well, and make a concerted and very carefully planned decision on how to deal with these issues.
Can you clarify something you said? Did you say that President Bush understood that military intervention would be a problem?
No, I don't claim to speak for President Bush at all. He's perfectly able to speak for himself.
Have you talked to any other leaders in Latin America and what do you think they should do in this case?
Well, the reason that President Ford and I went down there, and also the former Prime Minister of Belize, and a large group, was to represent not any government, not the United States, but to represent 15 leaders in this hemisphere who have been elected democratically. Some of us are past leaders, some of us are incumbent leaders. These extend geographically all the way from Canada with Pierre Trudeau to President Alfonsine in Argentina. Our purpose is to enhance and protect democracy and human rights in this hemisphere. So we went down there as an international group, not representing any country. And I think that's the best approach to it. We didn't go representing a nation or to confront the Panamanian people. We were received even by the government and by the election officials with open arms when we arrived, and we were given every access to every polling place on election day. I think it's obvious at that point Noriega thought that he was going to prevail with, I would say, retail fraud. But in spite of the obvious impositions of small-scale fraud, I'd say 5% or something like that, in spite of that, the opposition won this 3-to-1 majority of the votes.
You said that, it would play into Noriega's hands if the U.S. were to intervene militarily. One of the steps that's been talked about is reinforcing the American troops in Panama. Do you think that might help stiffen the internal opposition to Noriega?
Show of force?
Well, I don't know. I don't particularly want to comment on that. I don't think we need to do anything other than to make sure that the Americans who live and work in Panama are adequately protected. I think there's no doubt in the minds of Panamanian people that the United States military forces are stronger than theirs. And to have an overt display of military force, I think would probably be what Noriega would like to see. I think this would convince many of the doubting Panamanians that the United States does intend to attack their little country, that we intend to exert our power and override the inclinations of Panamanians. I think it would be counterproductive, but that's just my own opinion. I'm not trying to speak for anyone else.
Mr. President, there's been no official announcement.
Let me just have one more question.
There's been no official announcement yet out of Panama on the final election returns. Would it surprise you if Noriega came out in the next day or two and declared the opposition the winner?
It would surprise me, but I think you probably all realize that's been what we have tried to orchestrate, is for Noriega, in effect, to say that the will of the people has been expressed and that the opposition has won, that he has helped to bring democracy to his country, and let him be a hero. But obviously this is not what he's doing so far. There are 40 voting count centers, they're called circuitos, or circuits. To take, each one has more than 100 voting places that come into it. They're called mesas or tables. And when we left Panama this morning, only 4 of the 40 circuito results had been counted. Those 4 were totally fraudulent. There was nothing of any veracity about them. So there is still an opportunity, if Noriega feels this tremendous worldwide pressure, and pressure from his own military leaders and pressure from his people, there's still an opportunity for him to say, okay, the opposition has spoken, our candidates have lost, now let's go on from there. That's a possibility, which I think at this point is doubtful.
Are you
Thank you
calling
very
on
much.
our allies to do anything other than just speak out against this, or is there some action you want them to take?
They have, the White House spokesman
talked
about economic, commercial.
Well, my own publicly expressed opinion is that whatever we do should be designed to weaken Noriega and not to inflict pain, economic or otherwise, on the Panamanian people. That's a distinction we have to do. I think that's a judgment for President Bush to make. Thank you all very much.
Should the
I'll see you
U.S.
later.
negotiate
I gotta go home.
short-range nuclear forces?